Yes, people, welcome back to the 1894 for a brand new video. Now, you will notice there's 3 of us on this video. Why? You probably don't really care, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It's because we're going to do a bit of a transfer roundup. City are linked with a lot of incomings, a lot of outgoings. There's a lot going on in the world of Manchester City, and we felt it was a good idea to get the 3 of us on, the main 3 members of the 1894, the originals, and we're going to have a chat about what is going on in the world. You know, I think the first place we should start, Joe and Dara, is with the one that seems to be closest to getting over the line, and that, of course, is Marc Cucurella, Brighton left-back, touted to be for about 50 million, and the word now, the latest, is that he has agreed personal terms with the club. What does this mean for Manchester City? Let's get into it. First, Joe, I don't think you did the Cucurella video with me. How do you feel about this guy, and how do you feel about the price tag and personal terms, and what do you think it could mean for the club?
I remember I did one Cucurella video. It might have been the first one. In which I'm pretty sure I said I couldn't see it happening, but obviously a lot has changed. We've agreed personal terms. There's, multiple rumours of outgoings in his position or similar positions, so it looks like that it is going to get done. I am still concerned over the price. That's the one thing that for me would stop this deal. I'm looking at the fact how they managed to fleece Arsenal out of 50 million for Ben White, and they might try and do similar here. I think 50 million is sort of the maximum, the very maximum that I would go. And even then, I'm still not totally convinced is he better than what we've got now, but it is a welcome addition because we just need squad depth at this point. He's a natural left back, which is, it's a difference, something that we haven't had. And I mean, yeah, there's not really much that's added apart from personal terms. And personal terms for me, for a club the size that we are, is the easiest part of the job. Agreeing personal terms. It's not something that's too difficult, especially, no disrespect to Brighton, but for a club that's mid-table or lower end of mid-table, it shouldn't be too difficult for us to agree personal terms with a player that far down. So, it's progression, of course. I'm happy to see progression, but, we've still got the hardest part of this deal to go.
Yeah, I'm looking at the tweets here. Jacob Steinberg says Brighton want £50 million, but believe 40 million could be enough. Rebel, what do you think about the whole thing? I think you touched on it there a little bit, Joe, and you said we haven't had a natural left back in a long time, and it's probably since Benjamin Mendy, whenever he was last fit and he was available. I think that's the last time we had an actual left back. And you have to give your kudos to Zinchenko and, of course, Cancelo. But first of all, before we talk about Zinchenko, because I think there is a massive link to Zinchenko's exit if this is to happen, but Cucurella, if he's to come in, man, he has to accept the fact that he's not going to be first choice. Cancelo, for me anyway, and a lot of people will have their own opinions. I think the conversation is between Cancelo and Robertson. Who's the best left back in the world? For our system, it is absolutely Cancelo. Cucurella is not going to come in, and I promise you this, he's not going to come in and overtake João Cancelo. It's just not happening. But what he will provide is a different option for games where maybe we are in up against a top world-class right-hand sided winger, and we need more defensive cover, because if there is a flaw in Cancelo's game, it is his defensive ability sometimes. Last season he did cost us a few goals because he does like to go very high up the pitch, and if he can't get back quick enough, you are going to leave your centre-halves and your goalkeeper is very exposed. Rebel, how do you think about this? Because what I want to touch on is the Zinchenko thing. Do you think this means exit time for Alexander Zinchenko?
Yeah. 100%. I think Romano even said there a couple of days ago, if Cucurella comes in, it's spelling the exit for Zinchenko. Look, he wants more game time, he wants more starts. Zinchenko, he wants to play in the midfield as well, something that we can't offer him. We've got, of course, providing we keep Bernardo Silva, which I do think we will as well. We won't have much spot in the midfield for tinkering with that. He can kind of get in there. I think he's a good enough left back, but bringing in Cucurella, he's been able to play on the left side of a tree if needed. He can play and like you said, a natural wing back who can get up and down. He opens the change to a system as well if we ever need it. I think he's a really good player. He was obviously, I think he was voted Brighton's, it was either player of the season or fans player of the season last year. So he comes in with pedigree, you know what I mean? I think it's a really good game now. I know it was a couple of games for the end of the season, but it was the first time I had actually really seen him stand out was the United game. And he was great in that, he got up and down. He was filling in at centre back now and again as well. I think they're right to look for 50 million, considering the whole they signed him last season. City won't sign him for 50 million. If they haggle City for 50 million, it's not going to happen. And Zinchenko will probably say, but I don't know. I'm really open to it because it can just bring so much more to a team. It can open us up a bit more as well. And again, if we're losing attack and depth, there might be a change in system that he can just sit in there and be better, because let's say on the off chance he has a 5, I'm not going to want Cancelo as an attacking left wing back. It won't work because you need the depth on it. You don't need him cutting inside all the time. But he'd be ideal as a right foot wing back. Do you know what I mean? I think this, as a move, can just change a lot of the way we play.
It might spell out what the future for our defence looks like, because Kyle Walker's not getting any younger, and you'd imagine if Cucurella comes in as a natural left wing back, the obvious thing is that Kyle Walker will leave and Cancelo will move to right back and Cucurella will become the left back, and that's probably what City have proposed to Cucurella. They've probably said to him, initially, you won't be playing every single week, but you'll be developing and you'll be learning how to play Pep's way and that kind of thing for when Kyle Walker does go into decline or can't play every week or goes. Cancelo will move into right back and you will become the main left back. And according to Paul Ballas, it says personal terms are expected not to be a problem. Someone reported that they're done. And it says Guardiola and Shiki both want Cucurella. I think we're moving into a new wave of City. There's a bit of a transition going on, and I think this is probably what we're doing. We're planning ahead for what life will look like when some of the older players do move on or can't play every single week. But listen, it's one that I think is going to get done soon. The word is that City want to get all their business done ASAP before they go on their American preseason tour, get the whole squad together, get everyone, to feel the way it's like to play with each other, and get the system moving, get the big wheel turning kind of thing. But let's move on to an incoming, if you like. Well, not really an incoming. It's kind of more someone who's staying. It's looking like our main man in defensive midfield and our only defensive midfielder at the moment, Rodri, set to sign a contract extension until 2027. And that is absolutely massive. Apparently there was interest for Rodri from other clubs, and there's no surprise there. The guy just is the best at what he does in the world right now. And it's amazing the progress Rodri has made, and he's a very typical Pep signing. Struggled in his first season, took time to find his feet, had the luxury of learning from Fernandinho, who was the best at one point as well, and now Rodri is absolutely running the show in that defensive midfield. Fantastic in attack, fantastic in defence when he's on form. He's a player that we do need to tie down on a long-term contract, because he is going to be crucial in this transition. He's going to be one of those players that will carry us through that transition and carry the new players and help the whole thing work. Joe, Rodri till 2027, shrewd business.
It's very good business. I mean, we're almost tied at the moment, considering he's our only natural holding midfielder in the senior squad. But again, he's come off a season where, for me at least anyway, I know, there were various player of the season awards for various different things, but for me, he was our player of the season. I don't even think it was close. He was so consistent. He was always available. He always, again, put in most of the time 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, sometimes even 10 out of 10 performances. He came up with some big goals. I think he scored the most in his City career, albeit it's not really a big sample size, but he did score a lot of goals. He's a welcome addition from set pieces as well. We don't have a very tall squad, we know that. It's usually just the two centre-halves and then Rodri, and he's proved a threat from set pieces, especially at the near post. That is something that's valuable, especially considering the amount of set pieces we have gone on to score the season just gone. So I think it's a no-brainer really for me. He's the best holding midfielder in the world. He's the best holding midfielder for our system, certainly. And I just took a quick look there at player wages, and he's on, I've looked at a couple of different websites, and he's on £120,000 a week, which for a player that we're bigging up to be this the best in his position in world football isn't a lot. And obviously we usually pride ourselves about having a club that has a very good wage structure, but I think it's a deserved pay increase, a deserved contract extension. And you sort of silenced the doubters after that first season. I was one of them. I didn't know how he would fare in his second season. I gave it a chance, and it turned out pretty well, didn't it?
The thing with Rodri is, man, he's come on in leaps and bounds, probably more so than we expected. And you touched on it briefly. He scored I typed in City Extra Rodri there just to see what the latest on him is, and it's got a video of his goal against Everton this season. An absolute thunder bastard from outside the box. But you think about that goal against Arsenal on was it New Year's Day? I think it was, in the last minute to win us that game. Absolutely unbelievable scenes, and he got that goal, and he won't get the flowers he deserves, but his goal obviously against Villa was absolutely massive in the last day of the season. Gundogan got the golden moment, getting the winning goal and that, but Rodri got us that equalising goal, and that was absolutely huge. And he's turned up on the big stage many times this season, and I have no doubt that this guy is going to continue to be a crucial part of our squad. Rebel, really quickly, how do you feel about Rodri?
You go through any of our big games, you go through any of our reviews for our big games, you'll always see that he's getting the 8s and 9s out of 10s because he's just always there. The Villa match, he was great in. I remember we were getting caught in the transition a bit as well. He was still unbelievable. Even games that City's midfield looks poor, and I think he still looks really good. And he's absolutely crucial. Like we said, he's our only holding midfielder at the minute. You can't afford to let him go. Obviously, I think Bayern had inquired for him, but I think he's untouchable. I think at the minute he's absolutely untouchable. He's the best in the world by far, by absolute leaps and bounds. He is the best in the world. I can't believe I'm saying I was like a generational hater on him there a couple of seasons ago. Not even a couple of seasons ago. At the start of last season, I didn't fancy him at all. But he's just added so much. Be it his forward passing, it's been fantastic. I'd say his progressive passes this year are way better than they usually are. And that's just purely from looking at it. That's no stats around him. He gets involved a lot more. He gives us that threat from set pieces. I think he scored 7 goals. I think, just going off recent memory, I think it's 7 goals. And there are a lot of big goals. You think about Leeds, who were kind of struggling to break them down for a little bit, and then he turned up and just kind of nods one in. He's that good. He really is that good. I don't think his impact in the team right now, because he's given us something different to Fernandinho, but he's still having a lot of Fernandinho's qualities. His impact can't be said enough for that team. The fact we're getting him for 5 years is like, it's golden. It's what we need, and it seems like he really wants to be here, which can't be said for a lot of other players. So you really need to get him tied down. And I think it was Ekram Connor said that we have it done. So fingers crossed. But I'm really happy. I can't believe I'm saying I'm the one that's really happy about it. He should have been player of the season, and now he's getting his reward for the great season.
Yeah, I think the period you're on about where you were a hater, and I think a lot of people were not specifically
generational hater.
I don't think people were haters on him. It was more so the system he was put in. Playing that double pivot with Gundogan did not suit him. But listen, I'm reading a quote here from Cheeky, and he said, "There's 2 areas we need to strengthen, and that, of course, is striker, which is done now." This is an old quote. And he also said defensive midfielder, because we only have one in Rodri. And that is a nice little segue into the defensive midfielder we are linked with, someone we all know very well in the Premier League, and that is Kalvin Phillips. Well, listen, Phillips and Cucurella, and I suppose Rodri, if you want to call it an incoming, are the only players we are linked with. And it looks like, I believe you're right, we're going to get them done quickly. And I'd say it'd be about 50 million for each of them. So then you're looking at 51 million for Haaland, 50 million for Cucurella, 50 million for Kalvin Phillips, call it 20 million for Alvarez. You're looking at it 180 million pounds somewhere. I mean, as a fan, that's very exciting, and it'll probably boil a lot of piss. I mean, we did a video on Neymar the other day. We're not going to talk about it. It was just for entertainment. We were just talking about the possibility and the idea of Neymar playing for City, so we're not going to go over that. But we may as well talk about some of the outgoings, because we are shaping up to lose some of the players who have been at the club and served for quite some time. Obviously, Gabriel Jesus. I think any moment now, or any day now, we're going to get a "here we go" from Fabrizio, or some sort of an announcement from Arsenal. It looks like that is very much in the latter stages of its dealings. Jesus is someone who we have openly given a lot of criticism to on this channel over the years, but there is no denying that he has come up with massive goals. I think if you're going to summarise Gabriel Jesus, you call him a big game player, but an inconsistent player, and that's why he never eclipsed Aguero. It's why he never filled that void he was meant to fill in the transition from Aguero to the next striker. He was meant to be that guy coming in at whatever he was, 19, 20. But listen, I think Arsenal, well, we won't talk about the outgoings for too long, but I think Arsenal is a perfect fit for Gabriel Jesus. They need a big game player. They need someone with, winning experience. He's a 4-time Premier League winner. They need someone in that area of the pitch. Most importantly, they need a striker. And I have no doubt, Joe, that Jesus can go to Arsenal and cause everyone, including us, a lot of problems.
Oh, it'll definitely cause us problems, because that's just written in the stars for him to come and score a hat-trick at the Etihad when he comes back. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything different, but I mean,
he makes that Adebayor run down the...
He does the reverse Adebayor in front of the family stand. Look, listen, Arsenal needed quality into their squad. They just missed out on top 4. They did throw it away themselves, so they've only got themselves to blame, but they needed a bit of quality in the squad, and they've got it. Jesus is not good enough for us, but would genuinely be good enough for a lot of clubs around Europe. That's the state of our squad right now, where we don't need him, but there's a lot of clubs that would happily take him, and Arsenal seem to be the one. Spurs have pulled their name out of the hat. It seems that you know, he is staying in the Premier League. It will be Arsenal. We could even get a here we go before this video even goes out. Like, it wouldn't surprise me at all. The deal seems to literally just be crossing the T's and dotting the I's. I think it's just a fee with us that they're trying to get around. Personal terms as I've agreed. Obviously, they're trying to get their business sorted as quick as possible. I think that's just normal for any club, really. And again, I don't want to dwell on it too much because we did just cover him not too long ago. But yeah, I'm happy for him. I hope he does well. You know, I've enjoyed but also not enjoyed some of the moments. Obviously, there's been the highs of the 100 points, scoring that goal against Southampton, and then there's been the lows of him missing countless open goals, countless sitters, but you know, you don't remember those. By the time he's left, you'll just remember the good moments. And to be honest, again, like, I hope he does well. I have nothing against him apart from the fact that he was never really, you know, that good. He was never good enough to, you know, stay here and, you know, stake his claim.
That was very nice, Joe. We'll leave with we'll let him leave with the fond memories. I think that's the best we could do for Jesus. He was. Listen, I think you're right. 95% of the clubs in the world would have Gabriel Jesus in their squad and probably starting in a heartbeat. He's an extremely talented player. He just needs consistent game time, as I said, and a club will love him, a fan base will love him, and give him the time and the patience to fit in. And he's worked with Arteta before, and I think Arsenal are good. I like Arsenal. I like Arteta. I hope he does well. Not to the point where it's affecting us. As well. Rebel, really quickly, a player you've had criticism for, Gabriel Jesus, he's off ski.
I had a full head of hair before he joined, to be honest with you. He just makes me tear it out whenever we play. But I do love him. Like, realistically, like, I do love him, and I do wish him the best. I think we said this exact same sentiment in the last video. But he has to get down as one of the biggest nearly men for City ever. Like, you know what I mean? He's just been so close. He was always so close but so far to being the next striker, you know what I mean? Like, he'd have those little spells where, like, Jesus Christ, he's after turning into the best footballer of all time, but then you'd have your nails bitten down to your fingers in another game. It could be the next game. He's just so inconsistent. And that's why he's going to go. Realistically, he's not consistent enough to constantly be starting for City, and now obviously we're after bringing in this Norwegian bloke. So he's not going to get really the amount of game time. So I do wish him the best going to Arsenal. Again, we said this in the other video. He's going to be a City killer. I can smell him. I can already smell him coming in, scoring 2 or 3 at the Etihad. But look, it's how the cookie crumbles, isn't it?
Yeah, listen, best luck, Gabriel Jesus. Thanks for the memories and all that, but on you go. Listen, well, I'm just going to touch over some of the smaller ones that are happening. CJ Egan-Riley off to Burnley to work with Vincent Kompany on a season-long loan by the looks of it. I think Liam Delap is currently looking at a loan somewhere else as well. What else is happening? There's some of the younger players looking to go out and loan because they're simply not going to get the game time. Stefan Ortega I think Rebel mentioned him briefly earlier on, is a goalkeeper who seems to be rated quite highly by wherever he's coming from and by people who watch his games. He seems to be a good player. I've seen his compilations, which will obviously only show you his good parts, but what I saw, I was quite impressed. He can hopefully come in and give some competition to Ederson, keep him on his toes, and that would probably mean, in my opinion anyway, is some sort of a loan or an exit for Zach Steffen, who, unfortunately, when you're a goalkeeper and you only get 1 or 2 opportunities a season to show what you can do, if you don't do it, you're axed fairly quickly. And his performance in that Liverpool in was it a League Cup or an FA Cup game? And
FA Cup, yeah.
He was just brutal. So that kind of thing. When you only get 1 or 2 opportunities, you're only as good as your last performance, and his last performance was absolutely abysmal. So listen, I'm nothing against Zach Steffen, but maybe a loan and a fresher, more, I don't know, talented or equipped, whatever way you want to call it, second choice is what Ederson and City need right now. So keep an eye on Stefan Ortega. And the final player we want to touch on is the most controversial one for me in the video, is Raheem Sterling. We talked about him briefly in one of the videos last week, and that seems to be speeding up a little bit. It seems he has had a conversation with Thomas Tuchel of Chelsea. They seem to, get on quite well and have similar visions as to where they want to go moving forward. I'm not impressed with the idea of Sterling leaving. We did a video on this last week, so if you want our in-depth analysis and our in-depth thoughts, go and watch that video. But really, Joe, I don't think you were on the video, were you? So give us your thoughts on Raheem Sterling to Chelsea, and he's been touted for a very low price, which would piss me off a lot.
I am growing increasingly confident in him staying. At the moment, obviously, that's just through club briefings and stuff coming out from City side of the journalism, and it just being more positive. And look, we're going to find out in the next week or two, because I think both parties want it resolved by pre-season. They want to do they want to focus on the summer ahead of them. And of course, Sterling wants to make sure that, I mean, there's not really any chance that he's not going to be in that England squad, but he wants to make sure he's playing regular football just to really stamp it down so he's a nailed-on starter for the World Cup, because ultimately that's what he wants to be. And at Chelsea, he would be, but you know, I think he should stay here. I mean, that might just be me being a bit biased. I just think it's the best place for him with that number 9. I think we've said this multiple times before. With that number 9 beside him, he's just a completely different player, and I'm sure he'll be back. But whether he sees that or whether he genuinely just wants a new challenge, I don't know. If he does, then see you later. If you don't want to be here, the bottom line is don't be here. Look for somewhere else. I mean, Chelsea are being linked to every winger under the sun at the moment. We talked about Neymar to City. Chelsea are odds-on favourites to sign Neymar. Ousmane Dembele still hasn't agreed a new contract with Barcelona. He'd be a free agent. He's linked to Chelsea as well. Sterling, he's linked to Chelsea. So they're linked with a lot of names, and they're linked with names in other positions that we don't have to go into because it's Chelsea. But yeah, the new owners seem to be really wanting to make their mark in this transfer window and really get the fans on side quite early on with a number of big signings. And Sterling, for them, would be a big signing because he's one of England's best players. Obviously, I don't want to see it happen because I don't even want to picture him in a Chelsea jersey. That is just a horrible, horrible thought to picture him in another Premier League team's jersey. But it might become a reality. But I mean, I don't know, man. I'm confident. I'm hoping that, you know, in the next week or two, he has this meeting with Pep or Tiki or whoever it is that he's going to meet, and they lay down their plans and they decide to get on with the season and see how it goes. And I truly believe if he gives it a chance at the start of the season, then there will be no problems and there probably will be a contract extension, because I really think that he will pick up his form to how he was a few years ago.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, Sterling, isn't it? And I think letting him go would be a mistake. I think it genuinely would be a mistake, and I think we can hold on to the hope, and I think there's a very high possibility, I believe firmly. I've always backed Sterling, even through his toughest times. There's video evidence, go back and check. I've always backed him. I do believe he will become very good if he sticks around and he backs the project and he backs Pep's thought process or plays beside Erling Haaland. I think there's a very exciting prospect there. Rebel, we talked about Sterling last week, so we won't go over it too much again. Let's see how that unfolds. We'll definitely do more transfer roundups over the next week. If you guys enjoy it, let us know down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this style of video, getting the three of us on, we can get Luke on as well, and maybe get some guests, that kind of thing. We can play around with it. The transfer window is a very fun time. So let us know in the comments if you enjoy this style of content, or if you prefer when we do the short form videos and you know, just talk about maybe one player at a time. So let us know. Leave a like as well if you would. It massively helps us. If you like the video, more people can find the channel. More people find the channel, we can make more content and all that kind of thing. So do that, and subscribe if you're new. We're getting close now to our big goal of 3,000 of you. That would be absolutely amazing. Do help us in that. Share it to your friends. Leave a like, leave a comment. It all massively helps. And also get down below in the comments and tell us your thoughts on any of these transfers. Which one is exciting you the most? Which one is upsetting you the most? And tell us if there's any more players we should talk about. Thanks very much for watching. Good night and God bless. New videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Good night.